First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin what our family were saying about his wife and causing him to cut everyone off financially? My uncle had a kid from an affair who he abandoned to the system. My grandmother found out when he was 12 and took him in. This was a huge scandal, not only our family but also our social circle, because everyone is all about appearances and protecting the family legacy. If I'm being honest, my family weren't very nice about my cousin. I remember when he first came to live with our grandparents, my own mother told me not to socialize with him too much in front of outsiders so he doesn't ruin my reputation. I was 8. When he graduated, the family didn't want him involved in the family business because of his parentage and also because he was pretty closed off and was only close to our grandparents and no one else in the family. So our grandfather gave him some money to start something of his own. The family business hasn't been doing well for a long time, but my cousin is doing better than ever. Despite everything, he's been financially helping all of us for a few years now. Recently, our grandparents told everyone he was married and expecting a baby. This was a huge shock to the family. Our grandfather admitted he suspects our cousin got the woman pregnant by mistake and chose to do the right thing based on a few conversations he had with him before he announced his marriage. My family immediately cyber-talked his wife and they said some awful things about her, and everyone was complaining that he could have done so much better. My dad was even encouraging everyone to make things hell for her so she leaves. I told my cousin what they said. I'd like to say I did it for selfless reasons, but I didn't. He's paying for my tuition after my parents refused to help since I dropped out the first time, and based on his personality, I doubt he's going to be very forgiving once they started this crusade against his pregnant wife. Well, he cut everyone off except me and our grandparents. He never told anyone it was me, but since everyone is floundering trying to figure out what they're going to do now and I'm not, it didn't take much for them to figure out I was the snitch. Now, my family are angry at me and calling me all sorts of names. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They never accepted him as a family member. If they never accepted him, why do they deserve his help? They don't. They were mooching off him and only wanted his money. They didn't care about treating him like family. You were right to let him know exactly how they felt about him and his pregnant wife. You seem to actually care and accept him as family, so it's not selfish to let him know. He may be helping you with college, but you care and treat him well. You have accepted him as family. Good job. Not the a-hole. The biggest and best indicator that you're not the a-hole is precisely because what you said below. Now, my family are angry at me and calling me all sorts of names. Your family is messed up, so what they think is wrong is most certainly what's right and decent. Not the a-hole. Stick with the grandparents who've proven they'll stand by their grandchildren, like they did with their cousin. And your cousin who has done things out of the kindness of his heart, but these people have been nothing but awful. Get the hell out of your parents' sphere of influence as soon as you can. Not the a-hole. Never piss off the one holding purse strings. Even if your motive were less than pure, you did the right thing to let him know what they say behind his back. Another saying I heard was, never bite the hand that feeds you. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my brother-in-law to hold my baby, his nephew, just for a bit while I was folding laundry and traumatizing my brother-in-law? I honestly didn't know the reason why he was so reluctant. This happened a few days ago. So, while I, 25 female, was around 6 months pregnant, my husband, 25 male, was unfortunately furloughed from his job, so we moved into his brother's, 38 male, house. His brother's fairly well off, and I'm not exactly sure what he does for a living, but he's mostly just in his office from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so I don't really interact with him. I do appreciate that he let us move in while we were in a tight spot. When we moved in, he made it a hard rule that I will have nothing to do with the baby, so don't expect anything from me. But otherwise, y'all can have free reign of the house. That was 5 months ago. Brother-in-law actually doesn't really interact with any of his nieces or nephews. Sister-in-law's kids, 4 of them all under 10, as my husband has told me. Though he does send them gifts for birthdays and stuff, but definitely not an involved uncle. Skip to now, we have a beautiful baby boy. And brother-in-law stayed true to his words of not wanting anything to do with his nephew, and he just mostly stays in his office. My husband thankfully landed a job in the same field as his last job about a week ago. And even better, he's able to work from home. So we're set to move when we can save up a little more. And he was working when everything went down. Yesterday, while I was folding laundry, my son was getting fuzzy and wanted to be held. And at that moment, my brother-in-law came out of his office to grab something. I asked him if he could just quickly hold his nephew while I finished up folding laundry. Casually just says, "Nah, I'm good," and started to walk away. I admit I got really freaking mad at that point. Like, he can't even help for a minute while I finish up folding laundry? So I picked up my son and walked over to brother-in-law and placed him in his hands and said, "Just help out. It's just a baby. It won't kill you or anything." My yelling upset my son, so he started crying. He handed me back my child and very coldly says, "I told you, I'm good." And then he quickly retreated to his office. I was left really confused. And then my husband came out of the room he was working in to see what all the commotion was about. I explained what happened, and he just starts freaking out and said I shouldn't have done that. And he goes off to talk to his brother. My husband is now demanding I apologize to brother-in-law and explained something no one has ever told me. Apparently, brother-in-law had a wife 10 years ago who passed during childbirth, and the child later passed due to other complications, and brother-in-law never really got over it. My heart sank. I asked why I was never told this, and all he said is, "My brother's a very private guy, and it wasn't any of your business knowing his past. Please just apologize to him." But I wasn't able to. He has yet to come out of his office or room, and my husband just leaves food at brother-in-law's door. So I want some outside perspective. Am I the a-hole for forcing my brother-in-law to hold his nephew but accidentally opened a pretty bad scar? Now for the top comments. Laughing my butt off. OP. Isn't homeless because brother-in-law was being kind and gracious. Brother-in-law. I just have one boundary. Keep your baby away from me. OP. Gets pissy and forces brother-in-law to hold the baby. Husband. You should apologize for breaking boundaries and picking fights with a man who is keeping a roof over our heads. OP. Shocked Pikachu face. Yeah, you're the a-hole. Not everyone feels comfortable with kids. You already got a freaking house from the guy. You owe him, not the other way around. This is some Greek mythology gourmet stuff. Like, did OP never read the legends and myths? When a dude does something benevolent with a strange, yet non-harmful boundary, you keep that boundary. No means no. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. He said no. No means no. Yes, you're a giant a-hole for bullying a grown man into doing what you wanted. It doesn't even matter why I didn't want to hold your baby, but it does make it that much worse. You owe him a very sincere apology. They literally live in the guy's house, but still thinks it's okay to cross the one boundary he had. You're the a-hole. No means no. He does not mean no, but this one time I'll make an exception, lols. You don't need to know the reason why. You just needed to respect his one house rule. He was kind enough to let you stay there while you and your hubby got back on your feet, and he only had one thing he asked of you, and you still couldn't follow through with that. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my future sister-in-law that I won't be attending her child-free wedding, causing a lot of my other family members to drop out as well? My future sister-in-law is marrying my brother next summer, and they are planning to have a child-free wedding. I have about 3 other sisters and we all have kids, as do most of my cousins at this point. Our family is kinda spread out over the country, and my brother/sister-in-law's wedding is out of the state for most of us. Once I found out they wanted to make it child-free, I began to lose interest in going to the wedding. I don't want to be away from my kids for a couple of days, and it is just a hassle to find them living arrangements for when my husband and I are gone, especially since most of our adult family members will be at the wedding. We'd have to leave the kids with some friends. However, I get that it is her wedding and her decision, so I just declined to go, stating that I don't want to leave my kids alone without any family to watch them. After I dropped out, my other sisters got the courage to drop out as well, as they also have toddlers they didn't want to leave behind for a couple of days. Then, my cousins began declining to come as well. Now, it has become a huge deal in the family and caused a lot of drama. My brother has called me and yelled at me, saying that I was the one who caused all the problems. I was firm when I told him I wasn't going to his wedding unless I could bring my kids, and that all our sisters/cousins pretty much felt the same way. My parents, who are paying for half of their wedding, are also pissed that so many family members on our side aren't coming. They were already somewhat against the idea of a child-free wedding in the first place, and have now started pressuring sister-in-law to not make it child-free. My sister-in-law refuses to meet in the middle, and says the wedding will remain child-free, but she's also mad at all of us for not coming. She also still expects my parents to help pay for it, which I doubt they'll do at this point. Lol. I'm fine with her having a child-free wedding. I just don't want to be part of it if it means being away from my kids for days. Am I the a-hole? Edit. People keep asking why I'm mostly talking about my sister-in-law and not my brother in the post. I know for a fact my brother was okay with having kids at the wedding. It's the norm in our family, and he loves his nieces/nephews. It's my sister-in-law who wants this to be a child-free thing against the wishes of like 95% of our family and still have my parents foot the bill. My brother's just supporting her to make her happy. Edit. She has an entire 4-day itinerary planned with like 6 events that she expects to all be child-free. Are all of us with toddlers and kids supposed to swing back and forth from hiding our kids in hotels with random sitters to all the wedding activities just to keep my psycho sister-in-law happy? And then pay for it because she sure as hell won't, since our kids are our problems, as she stated to my face. You're the a-hole because you don't seem to know what meet in the middle means. She wants her wedding to be child-free. You want her wedding to not be child-free. You think she won't meet in the middle because she's not changing to what you want. It's super common to have group babysitting at the hotel. All your siblings/cousins can pool resources and get a few people to stay a few hours at the hotel and watch the kids. Maybe even have your parents pay for it as part of the wedding fees. If you don't want to go, don't go. But it doesn't seem like you're trying to actually work something out. Yeah, I don't get how child-free wedding translates into I'd have to leave the kids at home. And if OP is going to complain about spending money to bring kids to the location, they'd have to spend that money if the kids were invited. There's really barely any difference. Everyone brings their kids. A couple of cousins or family friends take turns with childcare while the rest go to the wedding. Trust me, as a kid, I hated having to go to weddings. Hanging out at a hotel pool would be so much more appealing to me. Not the a-hole. People are entitled to a child-free wedding, but they also have to understand that it's not going to be realistic for most people to leave their kids for days, especially young ones. This should have been an anticipated consequence of a child-free wedding. Your sister-in-law shouldn't have to change her child-free wedding, but she also doesn't get to be mad at out-of-state parents for not coming. I can't believe I had to scroll so far to find this comment. An invitation isn't a summon. If not taking your young children isn't a viable option, then you're fully allowed to decline. Not the a-hole. You're the a-hole. First of all, you're not fine with it, so stop saying you are. You're just trying to make yourself feel better. Second, you've now orchestrated a full-on boycott of her wedding, whether intended or not, and you seem to think it's funny. That's cruel. I don't think this is about the kids. I think you just don't like her and won't admit it because it makes you look bad. If you love your brother, you would find a way to be there, period. I have a hard time believing that there's no possible way you can group the kids together with a babysitter for a few hours. Of course you can, but you don't want to. I'd be crushed if I were her, receiving this welcome into the family. Also, she's blaming only her sister-in-law, as if her brother has nothing to do with it. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out after she didn't do what she said she would? I, 21 female, had a baby 8 days ago via scheduled cesarean. Father isn't around, and I knew he wouldn't be since day one. My sister, 29, we'll call her Annie, fake name, is recently divorced and suffers with infertility. Every time there's a new baby in the family, she offers to help out. Annie asked if she could stay with me for a few weeks after the baby is born and for the few days before to help out. I said yes, knowing I'd need help. The problems started from when we came home. Annie takes her, like literally does everything baby-related, except for nappy changes. She creates mess, which I end up having to clean up everything, while trying to cook for myself/order food, and it has to be done to Annie's preference too if I'm ordering. 5 days ago, I started recording the amount of time I spent with my baby versus what Annie did. Over the last 5 days, I spent a total of 8 hours with my baby, Annie nearly all the rest of the time. I tried asking her to step back a bit and help out with chores like she said she would, but she got defensive. Things got on my last nerve today around an hour ago, realizing she hadn't actually given me back my child all day except once to change her. I'm not really sure what got into me, but I lost my cool. I told her to get out and not come back until she can learn to respect that this is not her baby, and stop taking over everything except the gross bits. My mom called me, saying it was an a-hole move since Annie just wants a baby of her own, and I said that I don't care. I have barely got to see my own child. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, sudden outburst was caused by her practically refusing to give me my baby. Now for the top comments. My mom called me, saying it was an a-hole move since Annie just wants a baby of her own. But this baby is not available. It's not hers. It's yours and yours only. If she wants one so badly, she should look into adoption. Absolutely not the a-hole. Exactly, not the a-hole. It is important for you to bond with your baby, not only her. She needed to realize that she couldn't push you around and literally hog your baby. Not the a-hole at all. Tell your mom that what your sister wants is not your problem. You want your baby. Pete's sake. Not the a-hole. It sounds like your sister needs some therapy to deal with her infertility. Or just adopt. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for saying I don't care if my half-siblings feel left out because it's not my mom's job to mother them? My parents were married and had me 16 female and my brother 18 male. My dad had an affair with Kate, and mom and him divorced. Ellie, 11 female, was the result of the affair, and Tommy, 9 male, was born when dad married Kate. A year later, Kate died. My dad's family rallied around my half-siblings and tried to make up for the loss of their mother. Meanwhile, my mom shared custody of me and my brother with my dad. He had asked her to include Ellie and Tommy in her life after Kate died. It even told my brother and I a few times that they would be coming to mom's with us, and should be their mom now too. Mom never did take Ellie or Tommy into her home. I don't even think she's ever interacted with them. When I look back at moments where everyone was present, she was always one side with her family, and Dad was another with his and my half-siblings. Ellie and Tommy, as they have gotten older, have expressed all the emotions you might when you don't have a mom, but you sometimes share a home with kids who do. They get jealous, sad, frustrated. They have even asked for us to share mom with them. They have wanted to come along when they hear mom is taking us on vacation. They have wanted us all to spend Christmas together too. All kinds of stuff. They also have just dad's side of the family, since none of Kate's wants to be in their lives. Well, we have both sets of grandparents and aunts and uncles involved in our lives. A few times over the years, Dad, or my grandma or uncle, have asked me if I don't dislike that my mom wouldn't open her heart to kids who are part of my family. I always said no because they are not her kids, and so it doesn't make sense to me that she would. My dad wanted to try and get my half-siblings' wish to come true for a Christmas, where we're all together, which would include my brother and I and our mom. Mom said no. She did not engage with him beyond her no. Ellie and Dad then tried to get me to talk mom around, and I said no, and I told them I did not want to talk her around. Ellie got upset hearing that and left. Dad and my grandparents then cornered me later and asked me how can I say that when I know Ellie and Tommy feel left out and that they crave mothering. I told them I don't care if they feel left out because it's not my mom's job to mother them, and I would never expect her to do it. And since one can't be fixed without the other thing happening, as in them feeling left out can't be fixed unless they feel like they now have a mom in my mom, then I realized it's not going to happen. They told me my mom could, and should, have love for them as her children's siblings. I told them Dad should have thought about that before he cheated on her and got another woman pregnant while he was still married to mom. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I think the only a-holes are your father and any family member who put into those kids' heads when they are only 11 and 9 that your mother should have accepted and loved them as they were her own. I get you saying it to them, but you gotta understand that those kids have been brainwashed to believe your mother owed them something. Those kids need therapy and to be removed from your father's care because he's doing a lot of damage with his BS. I don't think either of those things will happen since my dad is the only parent they have left. Yeah, it's pretty sad that your dad is trying to absolve himself of guilt and responsibility by pushing a role onto your mom that she has no business in. I don't think he feels guilty. I'd say he doesn't see women as people, just caricatures of wife, mother, etc. That's why he doesn't understand that a woman he made a vow to, then burned and abandoned, wants nothing to do with helping him clean up the life he left her to have. In his mind, women take care of children and sad, desperate men. So now that his mistress/second wife died, he thinks his first wife should feel enough pity or compassion or whatever to take care of them all. But that's not how humans work. And until he sees her as a human with complex emotions, he will never stop trying the issue. That would require therapy, and OP has said that probably won't happen. So this will most likely continue. Not the whole OP. Therapy might be a good choice for you if you haven't already. This is a lot of weird and inappropriate pressure on you, and you deserve to have help navigating it. Not the whole. As much as I feel sorry for the kids who have no fault, they are the result of their father's affair. Your mom shouldn't be pressured to mother them precisely because they are the result of the affair. If your dad is so desperate for them to have mom, he should remarry. Affair or not, is wackadoo to think that your ex should somehow mother the children that you fathered with another woman. Even if they divorced amicably and then he met the mother of his other kids, it would still be a wild request. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad it's too late? My dad met his wife when I was 4. They became friends because they were single parents. Dad having lost his wife/my mom, and his wife because she had gone through a nasty divorce and it left her struggling. 2 years later, they became a couple and started introducing both sets of kids. It was not a good transition. His wife's kids were close and wanted nothing to do with the new stepbrother. But we were often pushed to interact and I would be left on the outside. Sometimes they would run away from me and leave me behind in places, and other times they would just ignore my existence completely. It was tough. I often felt like I had nobody. Dad and his wife both knew, and I had to be told that it would be okay, but that was it. There were times her kids would tease me for having no mom, and would tell me nobody wanted me, and I should run away. I was never accepted into their sibling group, and they moved out and eventually just stopped talking to me at all. I'm 19 now, and my girlfriend and I have a 6-month-old daughter. My dad apparently did not like that they were not willing to interact with my daughter, did not want to include her, and had not told their kids about their new cousin. He told his wife it bothered him and about her being left out. They argued and he moved out. He then came to me to tell me what happened, and I told him it was too late for that. That he knew they treated me that way, but he'd rather have someone in his bed. I asked him if he really thought I'd find it amazing that he'd do that now, when he didn't do it when I needed him. I said I would never have exposed my daughter to them, so he could have not blown up his marriage, and he called me ungrateful. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They weren't there to support you emotionally, and apparently were abusive, so extremely entitled for them to expect and demand attention. He flat out told you he chose the new wife to be in his bed over you. Now he gets to lay in the mess he made. Not the a-hole. The cynical side of my brain thinks your dad was already thinking of leaving them and thought this was the perfect excuse to do so and win brownie points with you at the same time. I find it very doubtful that he just suddenly grew a conscience about the treatment you have received for decades. Good on you for having a spine and calling him out on his behavior. My cynical side concurs and adds that it's likely because he only really realized after the divorce that his stepchildren never really cared for him either. After they told him to GTFO because it's not their kid's grandfather after he tried to visit. Strong vibes of doing the bare minimum while expecting effusions of gratitude here. Your dad never tried to create a smooth transition towards blended family. He knew how abandoned and alone you felt. He let the situation go on because what mattered most was not being single anymore, not your well-being and feeling accepted and loved in your own home, which is basically a child's only/principal safe space. You can't go Pikachu face when the step-siblings, who were never interested in you, are still not interested in you or in your kid. And you can't go Pikachu face because you don't care that, now that you're an adult, that you don't care either about them. Your dad sounds so self-centered. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that his relationship with your stepmother was not going well, and he just decided to make it implode in a way that makes him look good and would make you gain his respect, or something. Because what was the point of moving out over an issue between grown children? Right now, But back when the relationship was new and going well, it did not matter that your step-siblings were casting you out. Now he's expecting to be hailed as a hero? Another brilliant case of fool around and find out. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not going to my sister's child-free wedding? My sister is getting married next month to my best friend. She always wanted a nice snow wedding in the cabins we used to go to when we were in school. Everything was going fine until she told me it was a child-free wedding. Now, that would be fine with my wife and I because we would just drop off my son and daughter at my wife's parents or with their godparents. But my sister had asked them to be the ring bearer and the flower girl. Apparently, they want the kids to perform their duties at the wedding but then not attend the reception. That means either my wife or I will have to be there with them alone in the cabin while everyone is partying it up. Oh, but wait, I'm the best man and will be conducting the reception, so it's just going to be my wife. What about food? My mom will give my wife 20 minutes to come in, grab some plates with food and come back because the mother of the bride can't be missing for too long. So, they expect me to abandon my wife with our kids who are under the age of 7 in a tiny cabin that is not child-proof, where the source of heat is a fireplace and there is barely any cell signal. This is the day after driving for 7 hours with said kids. Not only do I think this is not a safe idea, considering it would be the middle of winter. My wife has never been to these cabins. It's not just the lack of ability to properly communicate, but also I think it's incredibly rude to invite someone to a destination wedding where they are not allowed to attend a wedding. Although my wife says she can manage, as she's really gullible sometimes and is a little bit of a people pleaser, I refuse. She's not being treated like a guest, but as the babysitter for the ring bearer and flower girl. I try to talk to my sister and the a-hole I call my best friend, who always preaches about being there for friends, loyalty and whatnot, but they are not conceding or willing to compromise. I ask if my kids could attend until the toasts, games and food. Then all 4 of us would retire to the cabin and let them party. No. If we could go completely child-free and leave the kids behind. No. If I just attend a wedding and retire to the cabin after the wedding. No. My sister is against all of these ideas while the a-hole has taken a temporary vow of silence. So, I'm angry and said I'm not coming, which in turn began the messages and calls from everyone. My family, the groom's family, and our friends. My wife has openly said that she can manage this, but I know that's just to keep the peace. My kids are also upset because before asking us, my sister and the a-hole asked them first to participate in the wedding, and they were really excited because they're close with both of them. With all these calls and messages, I feel I'm going crazy, and maybe I'm the a-hole instead. So, am I? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If she wants child-free, then she does not need your kids as props. As a parent, you have the right to not attend a child-free wedding without guilt. Tell her she should hire some local children for the gig. I am so confused by the request. Aren't most child-free weddings child-free? So the ceremony goes off without a hitch. Who requires children as props for the ceremony and then ban them from the reception? If these children can be trusted with the key roles in the wedding, why not trust that they can behave for the reception? Or at least a part of it? She's not being treated like a guest, but as the babysitter for the ring bearer and a flower girl. You are an awesome husband. I like where this is headed. When it comes to Mr. A-hole and Mrs. A-hole-to-be, they want to bestow the honor of making you their best man. But unfortunately, that honor comes at a hefty price. In order to fulfill your duties, you'll have to alienate your family for the reception. So, of course, it's totally reasonable and absolutely 100% expected of you to tell your wife and kids to go screw themselves while you're living it up to their reception. Totally sarcasm, by the way. You asked for compromises and they told you no. You even asked to leave after the ceremony. They said no. They left you with no options but to tell them, congratulations, you are officially out of luck. If this was a test to prove to your sister and her fiancé who your loyalty was with, you passed. You showed them that your family comes first, and you won't be throwing them to the wolves while you cower to the pack. Congratulations, and a toast to Mr. and Mrs. A-hole. May they have a lonely and miserable future ahead of both of them. Not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother off when he berated my daughter for not changing her cousin's diaper? Context. I moved in with my brother after my divorce 3 months ago and brought my 18-year-old daughter with me. My brother and his girlfriend have a 9-month-old daughter, my niece. This happened this past Friday. My brother's girlfriend was on a shift. She's a nurse and my brother was in a work-from-home meeting. I was out of the house for hours while he was watching the baby via nanny cam, and apparently she needed a diaper change. But he was so busy. He texted my daughter asking if she'd go in and quickly change her cousin's diaper, but she refused. She told me that she had her reasons. 1, she doesn't feel comfortable around babies. And 2, she was already late for her friend's birthday party. Her other friend and brother were waiting on her outside. My brother insisted, but she refused, which made him cut the meeting and getting kicked out of it. My daughter was out of the house at that point. I got home and there was a huge argument. I found my brother berating my daughter for not helping with her baby cousin and doing him this small one-time favor, and now he got kicked out of his meeting. My daughter was crying, so I told my brother off and said that his daughter is his and his girlfriend's responsibility, and he shouldn't rely on my daughter for her care. He explained how it was just a one-time favor, and how he's been very supportive of us since I divorced my ex. But I told him that is not an excuse to force my daughter to do what she didn't feel comfortable with. His girlfriend got involved and called me an ungrateful a-hole and told us we have 2 weeks to move out. I tried to speak to my brother about his girlfriend's decision, but he shut me off saying I was in the wrong for telling him off, instead of holding my daughter accountable for the lack of support. Your brother is responsible for taking care of his daughter. OP is responsible for providing housing for himself and his daughter. When someone is doing you a big favor, it might be wise to reciprocate with small favors. My grandma used to say with regard to arguments with family, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Sometimes those things don't coincide. I say something similar regarding driving. Do you want to be right or do you want to be hit? Your daughter does not owe your brother childcare services. But on the flip side, your brother does not owe you and your daughter room and board. So no a-holes technically, but it's your own fault for getting kicked out. The brother felt entitled to verbally mistreat the 18-year-old niece/daughter. I object for the no a-holes ruling. Brother is 1000% the a-hole for only planning to watch his infant daughter via nanny cam and not making prior arrangements with his niece to be hands-on during his meeting. It's his responsibility to make arrangements for his infant. I would also be extremely upset if I came home to find my adult brother berating his 18-year-old niece for any reason, but especially this reason. The verbal attack would not fly with me. Not the a-hole, but it's definitely time to move out. Everyone sucks here. I mean, they both sound incredibly stressed, and I think there's more to this story than you let on, considering this argument led to them giving you 2 weeks' notice to get out. Perhaps neither of you have been helping or contributing for months, and this was an easily solvable problem that would have just helped them. They're helping you after all. I agree with everything in this reply except the judgment. OP was the a-hole here. My wife and I both work from home, and sometimes it's really hard to get away. It was a simple favor. Nothing wrong with the ask your brother made. You and your daughter need to step up to the kindness this family's giving you. Oh wait, it's too late.